Now, I've only been in the radio industry for about 4 years, but during that time I've had the honor of attending numerous conferences around the world, including Radiodays in Europe. And inevitably, all of these conferences these days are focusing on one key topic, which is the role of digital for a radio broadcaster, the impending digital revolution. Digital is the new black, and so forth. And often, the question that's inevitably raised, whether it's at the conference itself or when we all go back home to contemplate how to incorporate digital into our radio broadcast offerings, the question that's often raised is digital simply a cost center for a radio broadcaster? Is streaming merely a must-have new service that doesn't have any revenue of its own? Or is digital a business unit of its own, standing on its own 2 feet with its own P&L separate from the terrestrial stations? To put it another way, is iHeartRadio a totally cool and I'm sure very expensive party that iHeartRadio stations throw throughout the United States, or throw in Las Vegas every year, and an even cooler one in Miami? Or is iHeartRadio an actual business of its own, delivering clear revenues and profits to the iHeartMedia Group? If you pour through the 10K of Clear Channel Holdings, formerly Clear Channel, it's very hard to tell this because they don't separate out iHeartRadio from the terrestrial station's offering, so it's hard to tell. Across the pond, we have Absolute Radio, which has for a long time been driving a very serious digital business model, one that's built on in-stream targeted ads and logged-in listening. They've even shut off non-revenue-generating international listening in an effort to help increase their profitability. And I'm sure that this has driven a lot of benefit for the Absolute's own FM brand as well. It is, of course, a bit of a challenge to depict streaming and online radio as a standalone business when the 2 biggest standard bearers in this space are not making money or struggling to make any at best. Spotify, by all publicly available accounts, is yet to be profitable. And Pandora, the world's largest internet radio service, has only just peaked into profitability after having been in business for about 13 years. So today I want to propose that this choice, the one for a radio broadcaster as to whether digital is a cost center or a standalone business unit, that this choice is perhaps a false one. Digital is neither a cost center nor a standalone business unit. It is simply what a radio broadcaster ought to be today. It's as inherent part of our business as transmitters and towers, as DJs and music rotations. It's simply who we are from now on. Now, I know this is a tough challenge, because to get an organization to think this way, first of all, you need to have senior management buy-in, but you also have to have the buy-in of your shareholders, who will often have to accept that there's going to be a period of reduced profits or even losses. But as well, the rest of the organization has to buy in, from your IT department that now has to support new technologies and new platforms, to your presenters that have to learn how to incorporate digital into their shows and into their presentation. The thing is, we know all the trends, we keep hearing them. More and more people are listening to radio online every day, not just in the US, but throughout the world. And they're listening to online radio for longer and longer periods of time. Smartphones are, of course, leading the charge, and I'm sure soon it's going to be the connected car. And it's within this backdrop that there is certainly no shortage of companies that are selling products and services tailored towards radio broadcasters to help them monetize on these digital investments. These are the guys that are selling pickaxes during the gold rush, so to speak. Ad injection, targeted spots, companion banners, logged-in listening. It's not really clear to me whether these fancy-sounding products are actually digital advertising products, or are they radio advertising products? Or perhaps there's some kind of man-made hybrid, some kind of Franken ad. Do we sell them to radio buyers, or do we sell them to digital buyers? It's hard to tell. So it's within that context that I think there is a clear delineation between those companies that have merely paid lip service to the mantra of going digital, those who have what I call a digital also strategy, versus those companies that have really figured out how to be truly digital first, those stations that have successfully embedded digital into their DNAs. So what separates out the men from the boys? What separates out the digital alsos from the digital firsts? Let's go step by step. Let's look at brand. A digital also broadcaster will tend to enter the digital world with an analog brand, 93.7 FM, 106.1 FM. If you think you can enter the office of a digital media buyer with a brand that has your frequency in it and the letters FM, good luck. If you are part of a larger radio group and have scale, a digital-first strategy would be to consider using an umbrella brand, one that is not tied to the analog world of FM frequencies, and one that can go head-to-head with sexier digital counterparts like Google and Facebook and BuzzFeed. Let's look at streaming. A digital also broadcaster will often simply repurpose their FM stream onto their digital stream. Their apps and sites will offer no more than a play button to push and a simulcast offering to listen to. Whereas a digital-first streamer, they will, however, take advantage of the various complications that exist in today's most sophisticated streaming services by providing customized content and targeted ads and rich metadata. A digital-first radio broadcaster understands that they need to cater to the eyes as well as to the ears of their listeners. Let's look at the apps. A digital also broadcaster, they may build a very good iPhone app, and then they'll take that app and make it twice bigger for the iPad, because after all, isn't an iPad just a bigger version of an iPhone? A digital-first broadcaster, however, understands that each device, whether it's a smartphone, a tablet, the desktop, a smart TV, or these days the smart watch, that has a value proposition of its own for the user, and it has inherent characteristics of its own. So they will build a good iPhone app, but will build a completely separate iPad app. You have to understand how each device is designed and how each device is used by the user in order to build an experience for them. And what's more, a digital-first broadcaster understands that once you commit to a platform, it's a living and breathing part of your service that's going to require constant updates and facelifts and new features. Over the past 2 years at Karnaval, for example, we've added numerous features ranging from car mode to alarm clock to WhatsApp integration, and we continue to be developing these platforms with our own in-house team. Let's look at the website. A digital also broadcaster will often design their website, but they'll totally ignore what it would look like on a smartphone. With more than 50% of web browsing these days taking place on mobile phones, if you haven't developed a mobile-optimized website, it's simply the case that you don't care enough, in my view. A digital-first broadcaster, like much more modern publishers like BuzzFeed, will have designed a simple and clean mobile-optimized website. They understand that there is a difference between the experience of looking at a website on a smartphone from a desktop. So let's look at Twitter for a second. A digital also strategy would be for a broadcaster to tell you what song they're going to be playing next on the radio. For some reason, these broadcasters think that by tweeting this for you on Twitter, that you're going to put your phone down, turn away from Twitter, turn on your radio station, and listen to Miami Sound Machine. But a digital-first broadcaster understands the power of Twitter to have as a medium that can generate critical mass effects. So let me give you an example. In Turkey recently, the government instituted a new fee for renewing your driver's license. It was 101 Turkish lira, which is about $40 US. And one morning, one of our DJs in one of our morning shows picked up on this and started a hashtag against this atrocious new fee. By the end of the day, that hashtag actually became a top 10 trending tweet, not only in Turkey, but globally. And at 6 p.m. that night, the finance minister of Turkey actually tweeted that he was going to reconsider this new fee for driver's licenses. 2 days later, they scaled the fee back by 85%, and by our calculation, that day our DJ saved the Turkish population $788 million. Now that is a good use of Twitter for a radio station. But what about Facebook? A digital also approach would be to simply be fishing for likes. Like us and get a chance to win. Whereas a digital-first broadcaster understands that Facebook today is the #1 source for viral content published on the web. I want to take a look at Virgin Radio in Lebanon. Virgin Radio in Lebanon has 10 million likes on their Facebook page. 10 million. Do you know what the population of Lebanon is? 4.5 million. So how do they do this? They do this by publishing content that is broadly consumed. It's not tied to a specific geography or tied to a radio, for that matter. They help establish Virgin Radio as an independent brand of its own on the web, with a presence beyond its FM signal and reflective of that station's identity. A digital also broadcaster will also have DJs and personalities that are all running their own social media accounts, but without any integration or policy or guidelines around it. So a presenter may be tweeting about a station contest one day and then chatting with his own friends the next on that same account. Whereas a digital-first broadcaster, in this case the BBC, they'll actually have an integrated set of guidelines and policies, separating out what accounts belong to the company and to the brand, and what accounts belong to the individual. Let's look at video. So often I see digital also radio broadcasters that for some reason think that putting music videos on their websites is a compelling way of incorporating video into their offerings. With YouTube clearly dominating this space, frankly, I think it's a little bit cheeky for a radio station to think that consumers are going to prefer to watch music videos on their website versus YouTube. They've already won the game on this. So what we did at Karnaval is a little bit different. We decided to focus entirely on creating original, low-cost content, low-cost video programming. Content that a small team of internal video producers have made for us and that we distribute on YouTube, on our website, and also on our dedicated video apps. We've effectively created an MCN, a multi-channel network, focused on music, celebrities, and comedy content. So, taking a page out of BuzzFeed's playbook, for example, we've created original viral videos that help engage our audiences. Harvard students trying Turkish food for the first time, annoying things that happen at home, life hacks, if boys behave like girls, and so on. These are all produced with free talent, with simple equipment, and with very minimal investment on our part. We've also created original videos focused on celebrities, international ones as well as local ones, ranging from short-form video versions of a Proust questionnaire to our own Turkish take on Jimmy Kimmel's mean tweets to in-depth interviews that we do with artists whenever they come into town when we sponsor a concert. And of course, given our roots in music, we have produced a lot of music-related original video content. We have 2 shows focused on acoustic music performances, one of Turkey's most famous pop stars like MTV Unplugged, and another which focuses on indie no-name artists, providing us with a breeding ground for identifying and pushing new music talent. But we didn't just stop there, because we saw real opportunity in extending into video online as a radio group. One of our radio stations, Metro FM, has one of the most popular morning shows in Turkey, a show called Aragaz. This is a show that's hosted by a famous comedian and a Senegalese footballer who lives in Turkey and who actually speaks Turkish. And the show has been a huge comedic success for us over the years. And it's been a big driver of Metro FM's both commercial and rating success. But with the show's popularity rising like this, we decided to trial some live-action, short-form videos with these 2 characters. We brought them in to give Pilates lessons and office etiquette lessons. Funny little videos that required no more than a short, funny script to write and a couple of hours of filming and editing. But with the success of these videos, we've now decided to take it one step further. And actually today we're making an announcement that starting tomorrow, many of the episodes of this famous radio program of ours will actually be available on YouTube, on the Karnaval website, and in the Karnaval apps in animation form. So we've been able to bring these 2 racy and foul-mouthed characters to life in Turkey's first adult comedy cartoon series, which will be premiering its first episodes tomorrow on YouTube, on our website, and in our dedicated apps. We really expect that these animations will have a huge viral effect, not just for the show itself, but for the Karnaval platform as a whole, and of course to help drive Metro FM's ratings. Let's look at sales. A digital also broadcaster will have a separate division for radio budgets and will address digital budgets separately. So they'll sell banners to one group and sell audio spots to the other. But a digital-first broadcaster understands that advertisers have a mission. And that mission is not to run a radio ad campaign or to run a digital ad campaign. That mission is to sell product. And by having a broad set of assets in your arsenal, ranging from radio to digital to video to social to mobile to events, then you have the best set of assets in order to help drive converged projects for advertisers. And lastly, I want to look at the HR and organizational element of this. A digital-first approach would be to have a separate digital approach would be to have a separate digital division, which is really isolated from the rest of the organization. Or even worse, to subjugate it underneath your IT department. But a digital-first approach would be to actually get your digital functions, roles, and responsibilities woven throughout the organization, ranging from marketing to sales to content. Digital-first organizations don't think in terms of terrestrial versus digital. The digital concept is woven in and built into the organization as a whole. Now, I've given you some tips and advice on how to think digital first today, but this just isn't theory after all. The proof is in the pudding, so to speak. So this is a real strategy that we've employed in Turkey, and frankly, over the past 4 years, we've been able to take Karnaval Media Group from being an old world, dusty radio broadcaster to today being a mobile-first, talent-led, technology-driven media company. We operate 4 different divisions. One division is Karnaval Radio Networks, which focuses on operating our 23 FM and streaming radio stations. Second division is Karnaval.com, which is our viral social news publisher on the web. The third is K Studios, our MCN, or multi-channel network, focused on producing original video content programming. And lastly, we've just introduced Karnaval One, which is our new subscription-based music service, which is based on a smart radio concept. And today, we are the 7th largest international radio service globally, as measured by internet radio service globally, as measured by Triton Digital's webcast metrics. And we actually have the 3rd largest mobile app in all of Turkey, 4 times bigger than the closest media competitor, as measured by Comscore. And we have almost 10 million unique listeners per month listening to our platform as a whole. But most importantly, we've actually been able to benefit our FM stations with this strategy. Digital has been a big ratings driver for us. It's driven Metro FM from being number 13 to number 3 overall, and from number 4 amongst foreign music radio stations to being now the number 1 foreign music station in Turkey. And most importantly, this strategy has been a major backbone for how we've been able to drive Karnaval Media revenues to outpace the radio industry by around 2.5 times over the past 4 years. So the proof is in the pudding. So I want to leave you with a few recommendations. Number 1, if you have multiple stations in your radio group, do consider branding them under a single umbrella brand. Drop the FM if you can. Second, build your service with mobile in mind first, and build it with social in mind second. Where you can, hire from outside of radio. Bring new skills into your organization and new talents into your organization. Whether it be in software programming or in IT support or in content, look towards TV or e-commerce or other industries to help bring some new blood and new life into what you do. Invest in streaming and audio and digital audio, of course, but you got to recognize that the ad markets for these services are still very nascent globally. And they're very small, so don't limit your revenues to audio only. Display, video, and mobile are more real today than digital audio is, so make sure to have a finger in that pie as well. Don't think of radio as being audio only. Radio stations are brands, so don't confine yourselves to a world of just sound. Invest in video, invest in news content, invest in events. And lastly, be willing to make mistakes. Because you will fall down along the way, but why do we fall? So we can pick ourselves up. So you're headed in the right direction, keep marching on. Thank you.